Oh my goodness, another assassination attempt was discovered in Florida yesterday. CNN is out this morning with some live updates. Let's get the latest on this, and then I'll show you around on what I was cobbling together last night. But here is what is happening this morning. The suspect, his name is Ryan Wesley Ruth. He is now in court. He's been charged with 2 counts, and I think these are just going to be preliminary, right? I think we're going to see a lot more than this, including possession of a firearm while a convicted felon and possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. And so these, I think, are what they're charging him with, just to hold him at the moment while they investigate him for other things. There are certain rules on how long you can keep somebody in custody without charges. You got to charge them or let him go. So they're going to be now charging him with these basic charges, and he is a felon, right? We're going to see there's a dramatic criminal history with this fella, but he is going to be held. A detention hearing is set for next Monday, and so we'll keep tabs on that. So I want to show you this document as well. So this is our new version of what we're doing. Rather than doing the mind maps, is we're just keeping everything nice and organized in a running document so that we can update it and make it a little bit more easy to understand without having a bunch of mind maps all over the place. But if we now have an upcoming court date. So 1 week from today, we're going to have another court date. And so we'll mark that down. There's a bail hearing. What screen am I on right now? Let's see, what screen am I on? Okay, so we'll have a bail hearing on this one, and this will be on the 23rd. Bail hearing on the 23rd, 09/23. And so we'll have that coming up. We'll keep tabs on what's happening as we're getting updates here. But we go back over to CNN, and what we see is that there's an ongoing investigation. So he owns a small construction company in Hawaii, planning to attack Trump when he was golfing on Sunday, had criticized Trump repeatedly. I'll show you some of that research we dug up. U.S. Secret Service agents fired at the suspect. Now, this is curious, right? What were the rules of engagement during the J13th first assassination attempt? What's so interesting about this whole saga is that we're going to be able to do a nice little compare and contrast on this thing and ask ourselves questions like the rules of engagement on J13, which was assassination number 1, versus on what are we going to call this one? 9/15, attempt number 2. Because on J13th, they apparently saw the shooter but didn't shoot. Saw the shooter. In this case, we actually saw the shooter and shot. So we have a big question now as to what changed. Did they change the rules of engagement? Certainly seems like it. So the Secret Service shot at the person. Then he was found with a rifle in the bushes near the golf club, and he was later apprehended after being stopped on a highway. Trump was not harmed. Now, as the probe continues, Trump and Kamala, they're pressing their campaigns forward. There's less than 8 weeks ahead, and Trump is going to unveil a cryptocurrency business in Florida. We released a video on that yesterday, called World Liberty Financial, and it's interesting. While Harris participates in a roundtable discussion with the Teamsters in D.C. So we've got some updates there. There's a lot unfolding, and we're waiting to get our hands on the actual documents. But as I said, I think that there will be a lot more to come from the criminal charges. Now, the question is, what will those look like? So let me share this with you. So this is what I was digging through yesterday, trying to assemble some of the latest news on this guy. So we know he's 58. We got a date of birth is around February 18th, 1966. A bunch of photos are in here. So this was the photo of him when he was apparently showing the cops that he doesn't have any weapons on him, right? Raise your hand. Do you have any weapons on? Don't have anything there. And so they captured him there. We also saw his portrait look like this, right? He's a lot of American flag symbolism. He's got a ton of criminal history that I'll show you. And he is very prolific. He's everywhere. There's a big history on this guy. Now, again, compare and contrast this with the J13th attack on Trump, where that guy had no social media at all, was just an unknown who just got activated or something. So this is him. He's very pro-Ukraine, is extremely interested in that war. And then here was a closer up footage of his face And you can see, I think he's fighting for Ukraine. Now, my understanding is that he actually went over there because we found a video of that as well. Now, MSNBC says, now they had some good reporting on this yesterday. They actually had the county attorney who was there. And so here's what they said: 100 plus past criminal charges. And the guy seems like he might be out there.
A portrait of him is emerging. It's not conclusive. It doesn't tell us definitively about motive, but we know a few things. We know that he lived for a long time in North Carolina, and there appears to have been a number of criminal convictions there, including one conviction for possession of a weapon of mass destruction back in 2002. Unclear exactly what that was about. Other charges and convictions related to possessing stolen property. Two, we have a LinkedIn account that says that he moved to Hawaii at one point. We have a long history of tweets, X now, with all kinds of things all over the map. Some very strange things, including at one point inviting the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un to go to Hawaii to do work with him. We also know he was passionate about the Ukraine war, on the side of the Ukrainians, and he traveled to Ukraine. There was a YouTube video that we've authenticated where he's giving an interview and describing his efforts to go try to fight for the Ukrainian cause, but because he was 56 years old at the time with no military experience, they didn't accept him as a fighter, and then he turned to try to recruit people to that cause. At one point, he had a scheme to try to recruit former Afghan pro-U.S. fighters to go over to Ukraine and fight for Ukraine. Those are the kinds of things we're learning about him. Again, it doesn't tell us why he might have done this and what his motive may have been. And Tom is absolutely right. With these convictions, it raises a question about how he possessed an assault rifle. But clearly, as you said at the beginning, there were a lot of lucky things here. The first thing was that the Secret Service saw that rifle poking out of the brush on the outskirts of this golf course as they were going to clear the next hole for Donald Trump to play. That was a lucky thing, but it still raises questions as to how, yet again, someone got within rifle range of the former president. Chris.
Yeah, it's another curious mistake that has happened from our Secret Service or something. Now, they acted, it sounds quickly, right? They engaged him immediately, unlike what happened on J13th, and they opened fire on him, which you would presume would be the same pattern that they would have conducted in Butler, Pennsylvania, but they didn't do that. I guess they were waiting for Trump to be shot in the head. Oh, no, there's an active shooter there. How do we know? Oh, Trump's brains are blown out. Oh, that's nice. So maybe we should fire? Let me get permission first from Ronald Rowe at the Secret Service, or Kimberly Cheadle, who's now gone. But this is curious because there's also security. If you look at the location where this took place, and we wrote this down, this occurred obviously at the Trump International Golf Club. It is a private club, and so it's not open to the public, right? You don't just show up there and get a tee time. You have to become a member, and it's a big process to become a member. There's 27 holes, so I don't know how that equates. What, golf's 18 holes, so it's like a course and a half or something. Members enjoy a no tee times policy and reciprocal access. So it's a private club. You got to become a member, and it's not something where it's just easy. You just show up there, right? Here's the website: championship course, virtual court, tour, pro shop, photo gallery. Become a member here. So you presume that it's nice and secure. It's for private members, right? It's not open to the public. So you don't have a bunch of people just coming and going. You presume that the perimeter is mostly secured, but it's a big property. So how do you secure everything against somebody just waltzing on there and hiding in the brushes? Now, there was also, it's very close. So I'm not really familiar with Florida. If you're in Florida, you might know more about the location, but it's right next to Mar-a-Lago. So Mar-a-Lago is right here. And if you are hopping on this freeway here, you just hop off that island and boom, you're at Trump International Club right there. And apparently Trump, I think, was maybe turning this corner. I have some more photos on that, but apparently he was maybe turning this corner, and you can see, right, it's a busy area. So where is this dude parking? Where is he hopping on the property? How's he getting in there? Do they have security around this entire perimeter? I doubt it. That's a lot. And it's a golf course, and you drive through golf courses in your neighborhood, and you just walk right on there. In fact, as kids, we used to just hop on golf courses, but they weren't private courses either, and they weren't properties of the president, so they were just like rinky-dink golf courses around the valley. So I don't know. Is it any different? The Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office is right there, as you can see. So it like envelops this law enforcement facility, and they must have been playing Sudoku or something on their phones over there or something. But anyways, that's the location, and so it's not open to the public. So was it really secured or not? And there was a press briefing from the people who were there. We're going to go through some of that, but there's a lot more. So apparently the docket is now out, and he's been charged with those 2 items. We also know he has a criminal record that's pretty substantial. Sarah Fields, who's over on X, did some digging on this, and here's what she came up with. She posted, she says, yeah, I just did a quick background check on this dude. 50 pages of criminal activity, right? And they might be traffic stuff, driving on a suspended license stuff. And you can see a lot of the time it is traffic stuff, right? It's driving on a suspended, you get a bunch of speeding tickets, you don't show up to those. And it's just a lifetime of criminal records. I've seen this, right? I've represented people. Can you help me clean this up? It's like 50 records or 100 records over 20 years, multiple states. Oh my gosh. But yeah, there's stuff you can do about it. But anyways, most of the charges were charges filed unspecified, and they cover a time span from 1984 to 2019. So just decades of criminality. Decades. And what's so curious about all this, when you juxtapose the criminal record with some of his other extracurricular activities like going to Ukraine, it's pretty wild how the DOJ and FBI and our State Department, they all didn't flag that. I guess they're too busy worried about Russian podcasters or something. But he is registered to vote in Guilford County, North Carolina. And so she got some screenshots of some of this. And here's some criminal and traffic records. You can see Feb 1966, that's the date of birth. Administrative Office, North Carolina. Charges filed, not specified, not showing up. Criminal charges. I'm sure you could dig into it and figure out what they are. They're probably not major. I think some of them were major in that he was like weapons of mass destruction or something like that. But by and large, a monstrous criminal history, right? Really long. And so something that we're not going to ignore. We also saw this via Jen Wright, and there was this newspaper clipping of Ryan Ruth, and apparently he barricaded himself in some building, armed. This is a serious charge, obviously. My sources are telling her that he has an extensive criminal history. In 2002, he barricaded himself in a business during a 3-hour standoff. So, yeah, that's a big deal. Man, it's a lot. Ryan Ruth was 36 at the time, arrested without incident 1 a.m. Monday at United Roofing. Oh, United Roofing? More roofs? Oh, gosh. I wonder if they built sloped roofs. Ruth was pulled over at 10 p.m. Sunday during a traffic stop, but he put his hand on a firearm and drove to United Roofing, where he remained barricaded inside, police said. Ruth was charged with carrying a concealed weapon and possession of a weapon of mass destruction, referring to a fully automatic machine gun. He was also charged with resisting, delaying, and obstructing a law enforcement officer and driving while license revoked, right? And that's where you see a bunch of driving records. Somebody has a revoked license. Every time they drive, you get pulled over. And so they get 50 pages of records. And you can see this. This also happens sometimes with intoxilizer devices. Somebody will be driving a car without an intoxilizer. They're supposed to have one. Oops, it extends it for another 6 months. Oh, crap, they drive another car. 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, like 27 years of having an intoxilizer. This guy, he probably had so many suspended licenses that he was probably revoked from getting a license. And so he's like, just screw it. I'll just drive around forever. And who cares? But this is a serious one, obviously. Armed, breaking and entering, armed. Were there hostages here? Did he let everyone else out? The guy just seems extremely unwell. So you can see he might have some mental problems. But personal background, born in North Carolina, registered to vote there. MSNBC was saying he lived in Hawaii. People are also identifying his daughter and maybe that he had a divorce. And they're going through his Venmo payments. And there's some other organization that he was involved in. I think it's called Campbox, something like that we'll have to look up. But he wrote another book, and this was interesting too. So we think about all this criminal history, all this criminal record, right? This guy's got 50 pages of just problems and breaking and entering, barricading himself, fleeing the cops, so on and so forth. But apparently he may have gone to Ukraine and actually traveled to Washington to meet with people who are also interested in supporting Ukraine.